Okay. Body, multiple parameters. So this paragraph says, now that we have seen how to use path and query, let's see more advanced uses of request body declarations. So they say mix path, query, and body parameters. Okay, we haven't seen any case of using path and query at the same time. We know that path is for path parameters, query is for query parameters, and then of course we know what body parameters are. And of course we can define them using Pydantic's base model. Then they're saying, first, of course, you can mix path, query, and request body parameter declarations freely, and FastAPI will know what to do. Okay, looks like I want to bite my tongue pronouncing this word freely. So you can mix them and FastAPI will know what to do. And you can also declare body parameters as optional by setting default to none. Okay, so let's go on and see what they're saying. So we see they've imported annotated from typing, FastAPI and path from FastAPI, base model from Pydantic. Okay, so an instance of FastAPI, which is app. Then we have class item, which inherits from base model and has about 4 attributes. Name is a string, okay, required. Description is a string or can be none, and default value is none, meaning it's optional. Price is a float and it's required. Tax is a float or can be none, and the default value is none. And of course, we have seen this multiple times, okay? And we know that it will be optional. Looking at what we studied in the previous streams, this is the case. Okay, so we go on, we say we have app.put. And of course, this time now we know what put means. We have been working with get and post, but remember they told us about put earlier. Put is used for updating a resource, okay? So you want to update a resource which is identified by item ID. And item ID is a path parameter. So we have a path operation function and item ID, of course, annotated, okay, as an integer. It's an integer, and we have metadata about it, which is path, okay. And the first metadata is title, which is simply a string saying ID of the item to get, GE, which is 0, greater than or equals to 0 and less than or equals to 1000. Then next up we have Q, str or none, then item, which is an item or none. Okay. So they told us here, you can also declare body parameters as optional by setting the default value to none. And this one here is going to be the body parameter. Why? Because it's made up of this, okay, base model. Okay, and Q will be the query parameter. Then of course, what is here is simply what we have been seeing before. We have a results dictionary, and if Q exists, we update the dictionary. If item exists, we also update the dictionary with item and return results. And we have seen this again and again. So I won't put this in my editor. Yeah, but of course, it's good for you if if this is your first time following along with me, then you need, of course, to have a look at this. Okay, copy this, simply do a copy and paste in your editor and then run it. But I've done this example again and again and again, so I won't do that. So I'll continue. And of course, for the variants, if you're using like Python 3.9 plus 3.8, you can look at this. But mine falls in Python 3.10 and above. So let's continue. So you're saying note that in this case, the item would be taken from the body is optional as it has a non-default value, like I've already mentioned here. Okay. So by making anything none as a default value, whether it is a body parameter, a query parameter, path parameter, we know that it will be optional. Okay. So applies, the concept is the same to any kind of parameter. So they're saying multiple body parameters, meaning more than one. So they're saying in the previous example, the path operations expect a JSON body with an attribute with attributes of an item like name, description, price, and tax. Like we know, these two are strings and the others are floats. So they're saying, but you can also declare multiple body parameters, e.g. item and user. So we're saying first API imported, base model imported an instance. We have item just like above, but we have another class user, which is also a base model. Why? Because of course it inherits from base model, and you are whatever you inherit. You are whatever you've inherited from. Okay. So this one has a username, which is a string, and is required. We have a full name, which is a string, but can also be none. But the default value is none, meaning it's optional. And of course, we have app.put, meaning we're updating a resource whose ID is item ID. And then we have a path operation function, okay, where we say item ID is an integer, item type of which is of type item, this, and user, which is of type user, this. Okay. So item and user are body parameters. Okay. Well, item ID is a path parameter, and they're simply returning, okay, this, which is basically very easy. So I can copy this if you want to see it in action, or we can actually go to documentation. Okay. Best way to use the documentation. So I'll copy all this, paste, run the first API dev.main. Okay. Go to this slash, so the documentation. Okay. So you see, put parameters, we have item ID, okay, an integer, and this is a path parameter. It is required. Then we have the request body, which is also required, okay. And they give an example value of the request body's schema. We have item and we have user. Okay, so essentially we send a name, a description, a price, and tax. And a tax, I mean. Okay. Again, my tongue wants to fail me in pronouncing this word. And then a user made up of a username and a full name. As simple as that. Okay. If I zoom out a little, it should be something saying, is it execute? So yeah, you can try it out by clicking here. Okay, you try out and put some information. Okay, item ID maybe say, then let's say execute. You see, we get an error saying for item ID required field is not provided. You can put 10. Okay, hit send. Okay, so yeah, pretty much. And we have here stuff using curl. Okay, we have here like if you go down, you see an example of an error, the success. Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, so not bad, not bad. Okay, and this is exactly what is sent. Okay, using curl, and this was the URL, and this was the server response. Okay, let me continue. So they're saying in this case, Fast API will notice that there is more than one body parameter in the function. There are two parameters that are Pydantic models. So it will then use the parameter names as keys. Okay, what we have already seen in documentation. So the parameter names, item is a parameter name, user is a parameter name. So they will become keys, just like we see here. Item is a key, user is a key. Okay. Have I skipped something? Yeah, they're supposed to be here. Item is a key, user is a key. Okay, so you expect a body. You say, so it will then use the parameter names as keys in the body and expect a body like this. Okay, which is something. Just a moment, I need to check something to verify it. My stream is working. Okay. All right, so I want to continue. So if I scroll down, they're saying not. Notice that even though the item was declared the same as before, it is now expected to be inside of the body with a key item. FastAPI will do the automatic conversion from the request so that the parameter item receives its specific content, and the same for user. FastAPI will do the automatic conversion from the request so that the parameter item receives its specific content. Yeah, and this is nice to know, but we have learned about this concept in the previous tutorial. So it will make sure that this is a string. If you pass like 42 as a string, it convert it for you to a float. Same with booleans, like we learned in the first streams. It will perform the validation of the compound data and will document it like that for the OpenAPI schema and automatic docs, which I've already shown you the documentation over here. So if I cancel this, okay, everything else is shown. Okay, but let's continue. So you're saying singular values in body. So you're saying the same way there is a query and path to define extra data for query and path parameters, FastAPI provides an equivalent body. For example, extending the previous model, you could decide that you want to have another key importance in the same body besides the item and user. Okay. If you declare it as is, because it is a singular value, FastAPI will assume it is a query parameter. But you can instruct FastAPI to treat it as another body key using body. Okay. Yeah, so I can copy this and I try to see if I understand what they're saying. So reduce this. So the difference is that they have body now imported from FastAPI, and they're saying if you leave it like this, they say, of course, they know that item ID is a path parameter. Item, because it is a Pydantic model, okay, it's a body param, okay. The same for user is a body param. Why? Because it is made up of, it is a Pydantic based model. Then if you come to importance, if I just did this, okay, and say importance int like this makes it a query parameter. But if I want to make it a body parameter without it having to inherit from something like base model, okay, I simply say annotated, okay, so annotated, okay, then specify it's an integer, then add metadata that this is body, okay, it's going to be a body parameter, just like you would do to say path, okay, to say it's a path parameter or query. So in this case, they're introducing something called body. I think this is nice, okay, because I wouldn't want to create a base model just for one thing like this, okay. So this is nice. This is good to know. And let me check just to be sure it's the same. Yeah, that is it. Okay, so let's roll. So you're saying in this case, FastAPI will expect a body like, okay, a key item, a key user, and something else, which is importance. Okay. Yeah, which is good to go. Actually, if we go back to our API docs and I refresh, you see we have it also importance right here. So item, user, importance. Cool. And of course, they say again, it will convert the data types, validate and document, among others. This is something we know, okay, from the very first streams. FastAPI does conversions of data types. FastAPI validates each of them, okay, according to the constraints you've set. Like, is it required? Is it less than? Is it greater than? Is it a string? Is it an integer? Is it a float? Is it a boolean? And it will document, okay, using the OpenAPI docs rules. So we have here multiple body, params, and query, okay? multiple body params and query. So they're saying, of course, you can also declare additional query parameters whenever you need. Okay. Additional to any body parameters. So they're saying as by default, singular values are interpreted as query parameters. You don't have to explicitly add a query parameter. You can just do something like this: q union. Okay, meaning q is either a string or none, and its default value is none, or in Python 3.10 and above, like we have seen, say q is either a string or none, and by default, the default value for now is none. Note that if you put a default value to, you can put a default value to be like string, okay? Because it's an option here. But of course, we know that doing this makes it optional. Then we go down, okay? And of course, this statement here, they're saying singular values are interpreted as query parameters. You don't have to put query, okay? So meaning, if I can just simply show you this again, if I've understood, by just simply just saying this, okay? This is a query parameter, okay? It's a query parameter. If I annotate it, okay, and put like this query, and this also becomes important still a query parameter. But of course, I will need to query if I need maybe like to put restrictions here like mean and okay, stuff like that. But no need for that for now. Just wanted to put that across so that yeah, you understand it like I do. So let's go on. So they're saying from Python 3.10 and above, we see they've imported annotated from typing, they've imported body and FastAPI from FastAPI, they've imported base model from Pydantic, they've made created an instance of FastAPI in this variable app. Then we have two subclasses of base model, item and user. This makes them Pydantic models. Okay. And therefore they'll be in the body. They'll be body parameters, I mean. Okay. Request body parameters. An item, of course, has name, description, price, tax, like we know, and user is also still the same. And we have here a path operation decorator, which is a put, okay, HTTP operation, and we have a path variable here, items, okay, and we know what this does, okay. It sends all of this information as key value pairs or quags, like we know. So we have item ID and integer, item and item, user, importers, annotated. And actually in one stream, we looked at the advantage of doing this. I don't know if any of you remembers, but you can watch the previous streams where we discussed it. I think it was either the third or the fourth. So path param, request body params, and then this is a query param, okay? And the simple same logic that we had, okay? So yeah, so they're saying by default, singular values are interpreted as query parameters. You don't have to explicitly add a query. Okay. So for example, like this one here, Q is a query parameter. Okay. But importance is not. Remember that. So Q, without saying annotated query, Q becomes automatically a query parameter. So in cases where we don't need to add metadata, you can simply just do that, this kind of definition. So they have an information info. The thing body also has some extra validation and metadata parameters as query and path, and others you will see later. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that because I know, yeah, the dance is still on. So you're saying embed a single body parameter. Let's say you only have a single item body parameter from a Pydantic model item. By default, FastAPI will then expect its body directly. If you want it to expect a JSON with a key item inside of it, inside of it, the model content, as it does when you declare extra body parameters, you can use the special body parameter embed. I want to read this again. If you want it to expect a JSON with a key item, and inside of it, the model contents, as it does when you declare extra body parameters, you can use this special body parameter embed. Okay, so just pass embed equals to true. Okay, and that will mean that you expect a key item. Yeah, which is good for extra validation. And actually, it will help. This I think helps the people who are working on the client code bases. Okay, for example, if I was a mobile developer, desktop developer, whatever, maybe just web front end, I would want this. Okay, that if I just send something like items, I get an error. Okay, so that I know that I'm sending item. Even if I tried to use AI to do for me code generation, and I had my prompts that are prepared for this kind of stuff, it would work magic. Okay, I can't wait to prompt AI a lot. I swear, guys, I can't wait to prompt AI a lot. Okay, yeah, let me check my screen. Doing code like I won't read the last part. Yeah, hello, how are you doing? Yes, I read comments. Okay, I read comments. Only that sometimes my comments come a little bit late. Why? So this is what I'm doing. Okay, I have another screen that I look out on this other side on my right, which is running on slightly slower internet. Then what I'm using this other side has faster internet. Okay, so the faster internet is working for the stream, the actual stream. Then the slightly slower internet is where I see the stream as it's going on, and then also the chat, but it happens slowly. So sometimes when I have to like refresh the page to see the chat box. Sorry for reading that late. Okay, but yeah, I do read comments. I hope you're doing well. How are you doing? Okay. But many people who call me sir are either people from ALX or people I've met like at IUEA and other places. Okay. One time someone called me sir the very first time I wondered, I'm like, what? Why are you calling me sir? Do I deserve that title? It humbles me every time someone calls me that. Yeah, so thank you for following along. If you have a question, please drop it in the chat. I think I understand this right now. If it's the first time reading it, and I can, yeah, try to break it down for you. And let me know whether you're getting this, whether it's making sense to you. Oh, so it says I'm a senior TypeScript developer. I want to learn FastAPI. Oh, that's good. That's good to know. This is actually the ninth stream. I've had multiple streams since last week, but one, maybe to be precise. Yeah, we can you can look at some of them or and then maybe catch up. But if you've been following along, that's really cool. Yeah, let's learn together. Let's learn together. I just want to learn it. How is TypeScript? I think being a TypeScript developer, I'm guessing maybe you use something like what is it called? Express. Okay, Express, Nest. Yeah, and I'm sure since you're a senior in TypeScript, coming to FastAPI is going to be very easy for you. You learn because like in your code base when you write backends using TypeScript, the concepts are the same. Parameters, query parameters, path parameters, the request body, okay, validation. Okay, so what changes here is the syntax. And once you understand the flow, annotations, Pydantic, what they mean, what they do, the whys and the hows, yeah, you'll do very, very well. And I'm sure you're going to learn. And of course, we're here learning together. Yeah. Thanks uh, for being a part of this. Okay. Yeah. And it's cool to know that someone from India is actually following along. Okay. Really, really nice to know. Maybe because of you, one day I'll come to India. Who knows? Okay. I don't believe it's by mistake that we are here. Yeah, so you say yes, I use Express in ORM, I use Sequelize. Yes, yeah, I've actually used Sequelize before. in my second internship way back many years ago. I used Sequelize. Yeah, that's what we used. Right now I'm seeing people using something called Type ORM. Yeah, but actually I used Sequelize. See, I use Sequelize. I optimize API using cache memory using Redis. Yes, that's cool. Yeah, Redis is an in-memory tool, and reading from memory is very, very fast. It is way faster than reading from disk. And so, yeah, caching is one of the techniques of optimizing APIs. Yeah. And now that reminds me of some question they always ask in interviews, uh, where they ask you to maybe like explain a catching strategy that can apply to a particular scenario, and then you have to know the different catching strategies. One I remember that I seen a late code question was LRU. They were asking the question was asking us developers to implement LRU, least recently used. All right, let's continue. Yeah, but I'm good to know that you're following from India. Very happy to know. Thank you for joining the stream. And I'm sure your experience will help you with this and will also actually help us. In case actually you see me maybe, because I can go through this, but you who is watching along with me and you who is actually a senior developer in TypeScript, you can pick insight that I've not yet got, okay? So feel free to type it in the chat. I'll really appreciate. All right, so let's continue. So yeah, we now know the use of embed, okay? Embed is to ensure that FastAPI does an extra validation to check that the key you're sending is item, not maybe items or ITE and you forget the M, just to be item exactly, okay? So they're saying as in Python 3.10 plus, this is it, okay? So they have basically the same function, okay? Item ID, which is an integer, item, okay, then they annotate it, okay? So again, those who are just joining this stream for the first time today, make sure if you don't understand what annotated is, you can check the previous, I think the first or second stream where we dealt with annotations, okay? Must be the first one. So you'll know what item is, you know what annotated means, okay? But simply this says, okay, that item, this variable here, item, okay, is of type item, which is a Pydantic base model, this one here, okay? And then we add extra information for FastAPI, which is called metadata, okay? And that extra information is the body, simply saying that embed equals to true, okay? Cool. Let's continue. And we know that what embed into means that item must be the actual key that the front-end developer is going to request for. So they're saying in this case, FastAPI will expect a body like this. Of course, we now know this, which is key. And I mean the key has to be item, nothing else. Okay. Maybe let's try this out. Let me copy. So you see that in the docs, it appears the same. Okay. Yeah, right now, in fact, most of the things like we have seen in the previous 8 streams, you see that it's now becoming easier since the concepts now are aligned and they are just like now overlapping and they're just re-emphasizing them. Okay. So you see even here, this is the example value they expect you to provide item. Okay. And if you go here to try it out, okay, and you try to execute, of course, you'll get an error. We need to put an item ID here. I can put maybe like 20. Then if I say, okay, if I execute, okay, you see things are okay. Okay. We get the response body, things are okay. But if I change this, okay, from item, I say maybe items and I execute. Okay. You see, we get an error. Look at this error. Okay. They say error unprocessable entity. They're saying type missing, lock, body, item. Saying message field required. So this item field is required. And what causes that is this. Okay. Saying embed equals to true. If you don't say embed equals to true, you will see something else. Okay. And yeah, it is good to try out these things. So just make sure I'm right. I've actually not during this stream is my very first time to actually test out APIs using this documentation. Usually I do them using using things like Postman, and yeah. So if you execute again, you see we get a successful response. You see that everything is okay. Okay, and right now here we don't have any error saying maybe like this particular string is required. Okay, we get 200 and everything is okay. So let's continue. Doing code says I'm also expert in DevOps. Wow, that's nice. Yeah, I've done DevOps. I've tried to, one time actually, I deployed to EC2, S3, RDS, and what else? S3. That is it. Set up an IAM user, tried out Heroku. Yeah, but I can't say I'm an expert. So I really admire you. You have really good experience. I've almost 5 years plus. Wow, that's awesome. Key concept also apply in Redis. We can get data. We can get data from cache memory by using Redis. Yes, I agree. And those of you who are on this stream and you don't understand what he's talking about, as you grow in your career, you'll find that maybe at your job you'll be given tasks which will force you to learn about some of these things, or you learn them. Okay, as you progress, as long as you're willing to learn, you'll get. And actually, maybe very soon I'll be building. After I build my backend, whether it is live or recorded, I'm going to actually use Redis in that application, because I'll need Redis to do some optimizations. Okay, to avoid hits to my database frequently. You'll get a chance to see that. Yeah, but yeah, he's very right. He's very right. Doing code like, yeah, you're very right. We can get data from cache memory by using keys. Yeah, so concepts come across everywhere. And he can tell you that actually in Redis, you have different data structures, okay, where you can save a whole list, you can save unique things using something like a hash set, an integer. Yeah, pretty cool. Thank you for being active on this stream. And actually, if you're comfortable, people who are watching now can always reach out to you, and yeah, you can share some your knowledge with them and mentor them. So they're saying, in this case, first people will expect a body like this. Yeah. Item must instead of this. Aha. This is actually what I wanted. So this, if you look at this and this, okay, they are very similar, but the difference is that this one has a key of item. This one has no key of item, but contains everything which is inside here. So I think we can try it out here and you see if I do this, okay. I remove this one and execute. Okay, you see, we get an error saying feed required item. If I undo, Control Z, save, you see, we get 200. Okay. Yeah, by the take note of this status codes. As a backend developer, they're very important to know. Okay. 200 means things are okay, everything is working. Okay. And actually, usually when you have a status code of 200, not of 200, but in the range of 200, like 200 and 200, 201, 204, it's associated with something good happening. Okay. And I think we shall see, like you've seen 422, mean there's something wrong with this, with this structure. And you see here they're calling it response entity. Okay. And in our case, the entity is simply the item. Okay. Item is an entity. And up here we had two entities. Okay. We had item and user. So if I'm wrong, you guys with experience, you can actually let me know. So let's go on. Okay, looks like we've come to the end. So they're saying, recap, you can add multiple body parameters to your path operation function. Okay. We know the path operation function. Okay. Now we understand those terms. All these I've just highlighted is the path operation function. Async def. Again, if you don't know what async def is, please watch the second stream where we talk about parallelism, concurrency, async await. Okay, very important, because very soon I'm sure they're going to bring it for us in this tutorial. So async def, update item, Okay, and then all this makes up the path operation function. Then this part makes up the path operation decorator. So you're saying you can have multiple body parameters, okay? And to do that, you simply achieve it using Pydantic models, okay? You create your class definitions that inherit from base model. And this means item is a Pydantic base model. And when you add it to your and you add it as a function parameter, I mean, okay? FastAPI is smart enough to know that this is a request body parameter. In case if I did something like this, okay, like this without annotated, I just say item, okay, like this. FastAPI knows that this is a request body parameter, okay, and it knows that this item ID is a path parameter, okay. So this is just a quick on that, but of course, if you want the details, go and watch where we walk through these things in detail, okay. And if I want to give more information, more validation, more constraints on this, I use annotated, okay. Say annotated, okay. Then I simply say it is going to be of type item. And if you remember in our first stream, they told us that annotated actually does nothing special. It's simply, in this case, if I leave it like this, it will simply mean that item is of type item. As simple as that. But annotated comes in handy when you want to specify the type, okay? In this case, which is item. And in addition, okay, you want to specify the item. And in addition, you want to specify more metadata, okay? So metadata could mean like, for example, if I want item to be a query parameter, I can say query, okay? Like that. This turns it into, if I can spell query properly, a query parameter. And of course, I have to come up here and I import what? Query from FastAPI. Okay, how can I spell this correctly? Okay, so query like this. Okay, if it's a path, you use a path. Okay, so these, when you combine the type and using annotated, make sure you add metadata. In this case, maybe I can try to put maybe default, mean, okay, those constraints. Okay, but of course, right now it doesn't make sense for me to say mean is equals to this or GE is equals to 0. Okay, but it's an example. But again, look in our past streams, we look at this in detail. So I'll control Z. In this case, what we have here is a body. This is a body. And of course, we want to do embed equals to true. And like we have said, embed simply means that the key, you must pass a key code item. Okay. And now we're looking at multiple body parameters. I can do comma and add another one. Okay. Maybe this one is called maybe platform. Okay. Let's see like platform like this. Okay. And it will take something called platform like that. Okay. So I can come here and create a class platform. Look at AI trying to complete it for me. Okay. And of course, I can just say tab complete. And of course, if I say tab and generates from, I now understand what AI has generated. And if AI has made a mistake here, I can edit it. This is a cool thing about understanding things. AI cannot just generate something and you're like, oh, what's this? Now I understand. Okay. So platform is a Pydantic based model with name and version. And of course, this makes it a body parameter. If I want to add more information, more metadata to it, then I can use annotated. So whether you use annotated with body or platform like this, it is simply a request body param. Okay, so we have here the saying. So I was just trying to explain this first part. The saying you can add multiple body parameters to your path operation function, even though a request can only have a single body. Okay, so FastAPI is smart enough to know that all these multiple body parameters are simply for one request body, and it won't stress you. Okay. Sir, can you please explain the benefits of FastAPI? I know Python for scripting in Bash and working with XML codes. Oh, nice. Actually, we looked at this in the our first streams, but I'm happy to do that. Okay. I want one benefit called like auto documentation. Yes, FastAPI has auto documentation is one of the benefits. Okay, we have seen here, and also we have another benefit is that we have a tool called Pydantic, which does very fast validation, like you've seen here. Pydantic, it is easy to work with it in FastAPI. Also, FastAPI helps you to have an API running on the fly. Okay, if you create an API like with something like Django REST framework, I mean, with Django, the number of pieces getting together, okay, you cannot create an API in Django REST framework on the fly as quickly as you would if you were working it with what? With FastAPI. With FastAPI, you have some really work to do. Actually, in the Python world, the thing which is closer to Express in being faster in creating like a simple hello world is FastAPI. Another benefit FastAPI comes with is asynchronous programming and what? And concurrency. Okay. Actually, their benchmarks, they are bold. Okay. These guys are very bold that it beats Node.js. Okay. The world that you're in, that you let me show you. If I go here to learn concurrency, they have a claim here. And I actually recently I saw their author confirming this. Okay, if I could say node, check this. Okay, so doing code, you'll go and watch our stream on concurrency to understand this better. But I guess since you'll be doing TypeScript Express, you know what concurrency and ASIC are what are all about. So read this statement. They're saying this kind of asynchronicity is what made Node.js popular. Even though Node.js is not parallel, that's the strength of Go as a programming. Then they're saying that's the same level of performance you get with FastAPI. Okay. And so many Python frameworks were not able to reach the speeds of some of these frameworks like Express when it comes to input output operations. Okay. And now here they are saying, as you can have parallelism and asynchronous at the same time, you can get higher performance than most of the tested Node.js frameworks and on par with Go, which is a compiled language closer to C. So look at this. It's a very big benefit, okay, doing code, I mean. You see, because of the asynchronous operations and implementation in FastAPI, okay? And remember, Python is an interpreted language, okay? We know the difference of interpreted versus compiled languages. And with the nature of that compilation, we know that compiled languages work faster than interpreted languages. But here, they're telling us that FastAPI performs equal to Node.js and even higher, okay? And is on par with Go, which is a compiled language closer to C. You get? Yeah. So this is the biggest benefit. Of course, there are other benefits, okay? Like having to work with type hints automatically. Like people who have worked with FastAPI in Django, you don't have type hints from the fly, okay? Like this str, okay, this kind of type hints, it doesn't have this by default, okay? But FastAPI I cannot say forces you, but urges you to use them and shows you the benefits of having the type hints, okay? And actually it becomes natural for you to use them. So that's what I can say are the benefits. I hope that was clear. I don't know if you understand. Please let me know if you've not been able to understand that. But those are what I can say. Of course, there are more. And of course, like me who is learning FastAPI, I'm sure I'll get to know them with time, more and more with time. Okay, so just answering that question. Let me continue. So they're saying, but FastAPI will handle it, give you the correct data in your function, validate and document the correct schema in the path operation. Yeah, now of course we know this, okay? They're simply telling us what we already know. I think these guys repeat this to strengthen your understanding for you who has been following from the first, or to tell it to you if this is your first time uh, reading this, okay? So they say FastAPI will give you the correct data. We have seen this always, okay, from the beginning. It will validate. We know FastAPI always validating from the very first stream we have been having. And document, we know the same thing, okay? So they're saying you can also declare single values to be retrieved as part of the body. We have seen that with that example. Where is the example? There's something up here. Where was it? Where was this? Importance, okay? Singular value. Okay. And maybe something maybe I missed. Are you seeing this singular value body having GT equals to 0? Remember, GT means greater than. And the same thing for query param. If I can just do this, I want to show you something. That these concepts are the same. If you have body, okay, body, comma, we have query for query params, okay, we have path, okay. They share similar validations, okay. So I'm just going to come up here and import path for path parameters. Those who don't understand this, please watch the previous streams, okay. So here you can say GT equals to 0. Maybe you want to verify that the body parameter must be greater than 0. The same applies to the query. GT equals to 0. Path also GT equals to 0. So some of the attributes are shared amongst all of them, which is pretty cool. Meaning if I understand how to use one with body, with queries automatically, with path it's automatic. And I can tell AI to generate for me stuff and I review what AI has created, and yeah, happy days. So of course, if you hover over it, you'll see other attributes, okay? Like title, description, GT, GEL, min length, pattern. Remember pattern and regex? We studied this, okay? So many, what we even don't know, we have not yet seen. Okay, remember alias? I like alias, by the way. I'm going to use it a lot, I think. So yeah, just wanted to put that across. So yeah, we have come to the end of the stream. Maybe there's one more statement I've not read. They're saying you can instruct FastAPI to embed the body in a key, even if there is only a single parameter required. Okay, you can instruct FastAPI to embed the body in a key, even when there is a single parameter required. Okay, what is that? What is embed? How do you do that? How do you instruct FastAPI to embed the body in a key? By using embed. Okay, embed, you say embed equals to true, and to embed the item here like this. We expect a body like this. All right, everybody, thank you for showing up. Let's meet tomorrow. Tomorrow's stream will be a little bit earlier. It will be at 7 p.m. East African time. Okay, I want to start it early, and of course we shall go on to another topic. We are moving. I think we began slowly. Okay, I'll keep on showing you this Python types intro, concurrency. Now we're inside here. Okay, of course, for environment variables and fragile environments, if you want, we can do it later, but I would expect people who know basic knowledge about Python, TypeScript, JavaScript, programming know this, but you can look at them if you want. Then we went inside here. We look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 topics. Okay. And tomorrow we'll be going to body field. So tomorrow's stream will be a little bit early at 7 p.m. East African time. So step by step, I'm going to do this until I master this whole thing. Okay. My goal is to go to the end and be very, very good at this. Okay. And very soon I'll show you a project. Okay. Whose front end is actually almost done. I'll be waiting to integrate the backend, and I'm going to build the backend using FastAPI. And when I'm done building the backend, I can maybe walk you through a few features or build some features live. So thank you all for showing up, doing like code doing code like from India. Thank you for your awesome participation. Bye bye for now. Let's meet tomorrow.